Nevertheless, the last but not the least, his name is Aragorn Mudelix. Aragorn, who is, well, he's the owner and the CEO of the company called Mr. Metaverse. This will be really something quite unusual. So, welcome Mr. Metaverse on stage, Aragorn.
99.99% of all technology, of everything in your life, was invented and created in the last 2.14% of recorded history. When we talk about AI, when we talk about the future, we always talk about, well, you can't do that, but we can. We can. The history of humanity is the history of technology. In the year 2049, we will reach technological singularity. Hey, Pi, I really need your help. I need to go on stage. There's 500 people out there, and everybody's been telling me how great my keynote was last year, and now I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint them. Can you give me a little pep talk?
Oh, you bet your sweet data said I can. Listen up, superstar. You got this. You're the real deal. You know your stuff, and you're gonna knock it out of the park. That fear you're feeling is just your adrenaline pumping, getting you hyped for the big show. Think of it like a roller coaster. You're anxious at the top of the hill, but once you take that first drop, it's all exhilaration and fun from there. You're gonna rock it, and those 500 people are gonna walk away with their minds blown. So take a deep breath, stand tall, and own that stage like you own the future of AI.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Let's do this! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome this morning to the Web3 Summit Vilnius in Lithuania. And boy, do I have some special stuff prepared for you today. So let's see it first. Who was here last year? Give me hands. Cool. So for those of you that were here last year, we're gonna do some stuff that will seem familiar, but don't be worried, because I got a lot of extra stuff to make you happy. So who wasn't here last year? Show of hands. Oh boy, it's gonna be fun. Let's go. Can we turn the lights down? Cool. Everybody close your eyes. Just do it, trust me. Close your eyes. Go with me on a little journey. It's early morning. You're still lying in bed. You're in the hotel. Or is it at home? You're not even sure. But the right moment to wake up has arrived. You're perfectly recovered. And you know this because...
Hey there, sleepyhead. It's a beautiful day, and you've got a whole day of adventure ahead of you. Let's get up and get going. Shall we go over your schedule for today?
Oh, thank you, Pi. Okay, let's do this. So, you swing your legs over the edge of the bed, and you look around the room, and you're thinking to yourself, am I ready for this? Yes, I am. Life is so different now. So you get up, you grab your augmented reality glasses from the bedside, and you walk to the bathroom, and suddenly, it's Fairy, your AI augmented reality, virtual reality pet. Hey Fairy, good morning. You walk in the bathroom, you throw some toothpaste into your mouth, you look in the mirror, and suddenly...
Hey there, you do realize that you forgot to put on your pants this morning, right?
Yeah, Pi, I know, I forgot to put my pants on, but it's okay, because I'm not going out of the house. So you step out of the bathroom, and you're trying to find your pants, and you're like, it doesn't matter. And suddenly you look at the walls and you see splats, three-dimensional photographs. 10 years ago, they still had 2D pictures. That was so primitive. It's pretty good. They're all moving and wonderful. And you walk to your office and you look out over this beautiful Swiss lake mountain area, which is, of course, augmented reality. And you're like, I'm ready.
Alert, alert. You have a meeting in 30 seconds. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, I'm ready, Pi. So you say, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Web3 2033. Let's talk about the future. So I asked this question last year. Who believes that this is a realistic future in our lifetime? Show of hands. So that's still less than half the room. So I have some work to do. This
In 5 years,
is Jensen.
we improved the computer graphics by 1,000 times. In 5 years, using artificial intelligence and accelerated computing. Moore's law is probably currently running at about 2 times. 1,000 times in 5 years. 1,000 times in 5 years is 1,000,000 times in 10. We're doing the same thing in artificial intelligence.
Jensen Huang is the CEO of NVIDIA. And for those of you that don't know, because you're into crypto and not into traditional stocks anymore, NVIDIA is the biggest computer chip company in the world. And they're also the biggest AI company in the world. And you'll see that there's a recurring theme here in this talk. It's about exponential growth and change. And like Jensen Huang said, they increased computing by 1,000 times in 5, which is 1,000,000 times in 10. And it's hard to really contemplate that, hard to really understand that for most people, exponential growth, because we are biological linear creatures. We're not used to thinking in exponential terms. But the history of humanity is the history of technology. But there's an interesting discrepancy between human history and technological history, as we'll come to realize. So first, some questions. How long is the history of Homo sapiens, our current biological species, our form? Anybody? Nobody? 500 super smart people? Nobody? 10,000 years. 83,000 years? Okay, so the truth is that in our current form, we've been around for about 200,000 years. Yes, walking upright, naked monkeys with a pretty big brain. That's us. So the next question is, how long is recorded history? This, very good. So he said 10,000 years, which, you know, give or take, is true. 12,000 years, if you count the 2,000 years since the rise of Christ. 12,000 years of human recorded history, archaeological finds, civilizations, and the start of agriculture. And so I made a little timeline, and I don't know if the laser works, but this is a little timeline of history. And I made this, for those of you that don't know about it already, with Advanced Code Analyzer in ChatGPT. So I gave it a set of data with times and dates, and I said, make me a little graph or a timeline. And what you see here on the left is the agricultural revolution 12,000 years ago. And then for 6,000 years, you don't see anything until the invention of the wheel. And let that sink in for a moment. That means that for 6,000 years, we were already farming, and we had no wheels. No wheels, no carts, no, what are they called? The stuff that you use in the garden. I'm not a gardener. None of that. And then another 1,500, 2,000 years before you got to the Iron Age. So we didn't even have metal for most of that time. And then here, all the way at the end, you see this whole blob of stuff. You know what that is? Anybody? What happened at the end here? What happened in the last 200 years? Yes, louder. The Industrial Revolutions, the Enlightenment. Exactly. In the last 200 years, we suddenly saw the Enlightenment, the first, second, and third, and fourth Industrial Revolution. And that means, for those of you that didn't realize this yet, that everything you see, everything you use every day, 99.99% of all technology, of everything in your life, was invented and created in the last 2.14% of recorded history. It's like 0.01% or less of all of human history. And if you put that into a graph, it looks a bit like this. This is technological evolution. This is technological progress for humanity. So let's do a little exercise to really get our head around this. What's exponential growth? Because we're looking at exponential growth. Let's say we have a pond, and we know that every year, in spring, the pond starts to fill with lilies. And we know that every year, it takes about 30 days for the pond to fill completely. So for you math geniuses in the room, on what day is half the pond filled? And this guy's smiling at me, so he knows the answer. No? What day? What day is half the pond filled? Anybody? 29. Very good. There's a winner in the back. 29. On day 29, half the pond is full. That means on day 30, the other half fills. So in the last day, we see the same amount of action as in the previous 29 days of the month. That's exponential growth. Let's do another one. You're working on a project. Your deadline is 1 week. On day 1, you get 1% of the project done. Can you finish within a week? If you doubled your progress every day, because that's exponential growth. Can you do that? No? Did somebody say no? Okay, so the answer is yes, you can, because you will finish on day 7. Because it takes 7 moves in exponential growth to go from 1% to 100%. And for those of you that think, well, this doesn't occur in real life, the Genome Project, which took off about a decade, a little more ago, in the first 3 or 4 years, they achieved 1%. And then the critics said, oh, you see, we're never going to do it. It's going to cost 100 times to map the genome. But the people working on it that understood exponential growth, they said, oh, this is great. We're nearly done. You know? Ray Kurzweil, who is, by the way, the director of engineering at Google, he wrote many books that I highly recommend reading, but the number one is The Singularity is Near, from 2004. And in it, he predicts that in the year 2049, we will reach technological singularity, which is that our technology will be progressing so fast that beyond that point, we can not have an understanding of what the world will look like. People said he was crazy, but here's a little thing about Ray Kurzweil. He's been doing predictions since the late 70s, and he's been correct 86% of the time. The reason he believes this is that he has something called the law of accelerating returns. And the law of accelerating returns basically says that not only is technological development exponential, but it is self-accelerating, because every technology makes the invention and innovation towards new technology go faster and faster. And so let me highlight that with a little example. More than 100 years ago, in 1856, the combustion engine was invented by Jean-Joseph Le Noir in Belgium. HN is what people called him. And then it took 33 years before that combustion engine, for the first time, was put in a car by Carl Benz in 1886. Right? 30 years. First car. And you know what people said? What is this stupid contraption? I want a faster horse, because this thing doesn't go more than 3 miles, and it falls apart, and it's very uncomfortable, and it's complicated. But Carl Benz said, no, this is the future. And somebody listened. But it took another 22 years for Henry Ford to invent the conveyor belt and then to start production on the Model T. So it took 52 years to go from the invention of a new invention of technology towards the actual use of that invention in a use case for consumers every day. But keep in mind that in 1908, the factory started, and there was still, only a handful Model Ts. And it took several decades before, even 100,000 of them had diffused across the world. If we compare that to today's progress in technology and diffusion across the globe, we see a different picture. Technically, the first touchscreen phone was in 1994 from IBM. It was a piece of shit, honestly. But, at the time, it was super high-tech, and we loved it. But the real smartphone touchscreen took off with the iPhone in 2007, which, how many people have an iPhone in the room? Show of hands, please. Yes, the dark side, I love it. So, 2007, iPhone launched, and today in 2023, there's 2.2 billion iPhones across the world in use, right? So it took, how long? 16 years to go from invention or introduction to mass diffusion. And you could say it took 52 years if you go back to 1994 for smartphones, but then still we have 2.2 billion, or 7.7 billion, 7 billion, sorry, in the whole world today after 52 years. So that's a significant increase in speed of diffusion of technology. So, and this one will look familiar for those that were here last year. I repeat what I said last year. In the next 5 to 10 years, we will see a very minimum of at least 100 years of technological innovation and the impact on society and the economy compared to previous decades at today's speed. But it's going to get even more crazy. Just wait for it. And for those critics in the room, because are there any critics? Any people think I'm full of shit? You can tell me now, it's fine. Yeah, somebody's raising a hand. This guy over there. Well, I have a video of you in 1999.
Yeah, that's right, the information superhighway, the internet, the future. You. It's all hype. I've been on the internet. There's 12 people out there.
It's hard. Yeah, it's okay. It's hard to contemplate. It's hard to believe now, with all of these brain-computer interfaces in your pocket that are continuously connected to the internet, to imagine that only 25 years ago, people were saying this. They were like, this is bullshit. Never going to happen. But it's true. Everything in this picture is now in your pocket. And I grew up in the 90s. All of this, I had it, and it was state-of-the-art. I would go to school and my Discman would keep skipping beats. And that was only the Discman that I got after my Walkman. This is today. And all of us are basically all day long using a brain-computer interface that is non-invasive, as in is not inside of our body yet. But that is just a matter of time. Oh, I'm only at chapter 2. I need to speed it up. La révolution, the current AI revolution. Actually, it started in 2017. Most people don't know this because often with scientific breakthroughs, the effects, the ripples of it only start to become aware to the public in years later. But in 2017, something incredible happened.
Autobots, transform and roll out.
The transformer model was introduced, a new model for artificial intelligence. And I would love to spend an hour talking to you about why it's so special and how it particularly works, but I tried to make it simple for all of you so everybody can understand. The transformer model basically says everything is a language. Now, maybe you've heard people say, well, everything is data, and data is the currency of the future. But if you know that it's data, then you can find patterns. And once you can find patterns, then all data starts to look like language. And that's exactly what transformer models do. And so it can translate anything to anything.
In Kenya's Samburu National Reserve, researchers are attempting to do something that's never been done before.
We're looking at the tracking app right now, trying to figure out where everybody is.
Using the power of artificial intelligence to speak to elephants in their own voice.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking to elephants in their own voice. This is what the future is going to look like in the next few years. And it doesn't stop at elephants, because there's another guy, Asa Raskin, which I highly recommend all of you to follow, who's doing some other crazy stuff.
Just like you can build a chatbot in Chinese without needing to speak Chinese, in the next couple of years, 1, 3, 5, we're going to be able to build essentially synthetic whales, synthetic tool-using crows, that can fluently speak. It's just the plot twist is we won't yet fully know what we're saying.
We won't yet know what we're saying. What he means by this, and I just want to clarify that, is that you cannot directly translate from one language to another without having at least some loss of nuance. In Dutch, we are very famous, or at least we're very proud of the word gezellig, which doesn't translate to any other language because it means something like cozy, but not exactly. And so we always make jokes about this. And this is what he's talking about. So language can be translated from one point in a kind of three-dimensional language space to a point in a different three-dimensional language space based on coordinates. But depending on culture or context, it might not mean exactly the same thing. Which is why if you translate a text prompt to an image, it's not exactly the same as the text prompt, but it does represent the text prompt, or at least come close to it. We'll get back to this. But first, a question. What is human exceptionalism? Who can tell me what human exceptionalism is? Yes, man over there. Sorry?
Like we're not a Chinese room like AI is. So that's why we are an exception to that. We understand we have like meaning behind the room.
So you said some interesting things. First you said Chinese room, and AI is a Chinese room, or not. Let's have that talk later, because I think that's bullshit. But the point is that human exceptionalism, and Americans understand this much better, because if you ask an American, are there any Americans in the room? JD still here? What's American exceptionalism? Because that really brings it down very... Americans say, this is the greatest nation in the world. We are the greatest people in the world. That's American exceptionalism. The thing is, all humans suffer from this, because we are all convinced that we are the greatest species in the world. We are the apex predator. We are the pinnacle of evolution. And nothing can surpass us. But is that really true?
Human beings have dreams. Even dogs have dreams, but not you. You are just a machine. An imitation of life. Can a robot write a symphony? Can a robot turn a canvas into a beautiful masterpiece? Can you?
How many people in the room here can write a masterpiece? Paint a masterpiece? Make a masterpiece, any kind of masterpiece? I? Who said I? Well done, well done. AI. How many people in the room are an expert at something? You can be, don't be shy. Yeah. And what are you an expert at? Like one topic, 2, 3, 5, 10? 4, 3. Oh, you're a really smart guy. 1. See, most humans are, if at all, an expert or exceptional at something, it's going to be 1 or 2 things. Because you don't really have much more time in life for more than 1 or 2 things. And this is the thing. When we talk about AI, when we talk about the future, we always talk about, well, you can't do that, but we can. We can. Yeah, we can, but there's 8 billion of us. Yeah? But here's the kicker. AI today, some models can do, 100 different things really well. They're just not very good at being human yet in some ways. But then again, that really depends on what human you're looking at.
Derek is a musical savant, blessed with an island of extreme talent in a sea of profound disability.
Yep. We have those people that can barely have a normal conversation, can't walk down the street, but, they're really great at playing Bach or Mozart or remembering a piece of music or having perfect pitch or being mathematical geniuses that can, calculate pi or the order of magnitude or something. I'm not good at math. But that's what AI does. I was here last year and I spoke about Midjourney, and it was still early days. Midjourney came a long way. In 1 year, we went from, pictures that seemed recognizable to pictures that are photorealistic. This is a woman that doesn't exist, in a street that doesn't exist, in a place that doesn't exist, with hair that doesn't exist, in a t-shirt that doesn't exist. But she looks 100% real. And this was made by an AI. There's no human painter that can do it this realistically. This AI cannot have a normal conversation with me, unlike Pi, which I spoke to when I came up. But it can do some stuff really great. And this was introduced a year ago, and today it's already a commodity around the world for billions, because everybody with an iPhone can go into any of 1,000 apps and generate 1,000 pictures of themselves in any timeline, in any multiverse.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. everywhere.
So how many Gen Zs in the room? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so for those of you, that was Johnny Cash. And he was a pretty famous, musician, but he never sang Barbie Girl. In fact, this whole song was Folsom Prison, and they just used an AI to combine Barbie Girl with Folsom Prison, and voila, perfect rendition.
Oh, dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, we'll dance with somebody. With somebody who loves me.
So who remembers The Bodyguard from the 90s? Imagine Kevin Costner carrying this version of AI is changing the world.
Some people tell me, oh, this AI hype, it's all so crazy, it's not realistic. It's not going to happen so fast. Society will not change that fast. İnternet geldiğinde oradaydım ve her şeyin farklı olacağını söylediler ama öyle değil. Bu doğru mu? Çünkü bana göre dünya sadece 20 yıl içinde tanınma ötesinde değişmiş gibi görünüyor. No es que no sea cierto que yo cambio todo. Simplemente no cambió todo como pensábamos.
I recorded this a month ago in about 3 minutes. I uploaded it and changed this video to what you see now in about 3 minutes. So it took me 6 minutes. This was experimental tech at the time. Now it's already being rolled out across thousands of apps, and I guarantee you that 1 year from now, you will be able to go into a Zoom call or Google Meet, and there will be a button, real-time translation, which will not only translate whatever you're saying directly to the language of the person you're speaking to, whether they're Chinese, Lithuanian, or Finnish, but it will do voice or lip synchronization just like you saw here, and they won't even know you don't speak their language because it will even sound like your voice. That, ladies and gentlemen, was only possible in the Universal Translator in Star Trek in the 60s, or in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy's Babelfish, and that was science fiction magic. And today, it is real. You guys know this already. 90% of art content will be artificial by 2025. No doubt about that. What about the Metaverse? I miss the Metaverse. Some people say, anyway. Is it dead? Well, first let's take a step back. What about NFTs? Are NFTs dead?
I mean, NFTs, the funny thing is that the NFT is not even on the blockchain. It's just a URL to the JPEG. So it's not even like, it's like you should at least encode the JPEG in the blockchain. Because like, if the URL, if the company housing the image goes out of business, you don't have the image anymore.
Right? So JD spoke about this as well, just before me. But what this shows me is that even smart people like Elon Musk don't really understand NFTs. So don't worry, right? You might think, bear market, well, things are looking up today and yesterday, but bear market and NFTs are forgotten and Web3 is not as popular as it was and Metaverse forgotten, doesn't matter. We are still early, and I know that you see this online every single day, but most people just don't understand it. It's easy to understand ChatGPT because it talks back to you, but it's much harder to understand something like NFTs. In the future, nobody will be talking about that, but everybody will be using it because every single purchase, every single item you own or have will be with an NFT, and it will be necessary. But we'll get to that. So for those of you that were here last year, you might remember this. We're looking at the first virtual generation, Gen Z. And for those of you that paid attention to Monica, who was here this morning, Wehuizen, she also spoke about, what they're doing, where they're combining AR, AI, etc. And they're doing these collaborations with games like Fortnite, Roblox, and Minecraft. And I spoke about this last year. This is the future, ladies and gentlemen. Think about it. This is where Facebook was 15 years ago. That's now Roblox. Who has kids in the room? Yeah? Okay, here's a prediction from me. 10 years from now, you will be chatting with your child in Roblox, and their grandmother will probably be doing the same thing. The thing we need to realize is that increasingly, we see young people 9 to 19 who are already entering the job market this year, spending 8 hours or more a week in virtual worlds with virtual avatars, virtual fashion, with virtual assets and virtual money. Whether that is Roblox or whether they're on Decentraland doesn't really matter. Most of them are not on Decentraland, unfortunately. Well, I don't know if that's unfortunate. I think that was predictable. I think I said that last year. But the thing is that they're already living in a virtual world, and this is part of their identity, part of their life. But the one thing that was completely underestimated last year already, and I think I mentioned this, was that people thought that it was going to take a lot longer for us to do all of this. Matthew Ball released his book this year, after I spoke here last year, about the Metaverse. And people were like, or was it last year? Man, time's going so fast. And one of the main things he said was like, it will require millions, at least hundreds of thousands of developers, hundreds of thousands of hours to develop all these virtual worlds and environments. And then Gen AI happened. Because even Roblox is implementing it now. Because you don't need thousands of developers anymore. You can just go into Roblox, you can tell it what you want, and it will write the code for you. You can develop it. You guys, all of you, even the boomers in the room, can go home right now, install Roblox, and you can build your own virtual world and virtual game with anything you want, make it as realistic as you want, and you don't even need to be able to write code. So for those schools and educational institutions out there that are so proud that you're finally teaching our kids to code, it's too little, too late. And this is today. Even Roblox themselves realized how impactful this is going to be. So they made some predictions. They said, well, we're going to have a musician perform for over 1 million people using phone motion capture. We're going to get a Roblox developer evaluated at 1 billion or more. And Roblox, like I said, is going to be a frequent communication channel for families. Just like Facebook was, you know, my mother said to me in 2005, what is Facebook? And now that's the only way she talks to me. WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook is crazy. I have to tell her to get off social media. She's 78. And a top fashion designer with no previous experience in real-life fashion will rise in Roblox for virtual fashion. That will be big. And still, people keep telling me, but Aragorn, it's for kids. For those of you that were alive in 1999,
this is The Construct.
This is the movie that changed my life. I think I spoke about it last year as well. In 1999, that was a dream, a virtual reality space that you could build anything in. But welcome to the real world.
Following is a conversation with Mark Zuckerberg inside the Metaverse. Mark and I are hundreds of miles apart from each other in physical space, but it feels like we're in the same room because we appear to each other as photorealistic codec avatars in 3D with spatial audio. This technology is incredible, and I think it's the future of how human beings connect to each other in a deeply meaningful way on the internet. These avatars can capture many of the nuances of facial expressions that we humans use to communicate emotion to each other. Now I just need to work on upgrading my emotion expressing capabilities of the underlying human.
I think this is incredible. Because I want to move to Japan, but I'm afraid to leave my mother behind. But if this technology was already disseminated, which it will be in 5 to 10 years, I could just put on some glasses, sit down on my couch, and talk to my mother, who is on the other side of the planet, like she was really there. With the exception that I wouldn't be able to hug her yet. That will take another 20 years. November 30th, 2022. I had just been in the wonderful Vilnius talking to all of you, and then it happened. First contact. The launch of ChatGPT, the fastest growing app in all of human history. So here you see Instagram, Spotify, TikTok's not on here, but all of them, it took almost several years to grow to 100 million users. ChatGPT did the same in a little over 2 months. On January 1st, 2023, ChatGPT had 100 million users every day. Or in total, sorry. But now 1 year on, we have 100 million users every week. 100 million users every week, and this is just exponentially growing. The only thing that's going to limit this is the amount of people on the earth. But it's not just the users that have been growing exponentially. This is a test from the US that every medical practitioner has to take to be allowed to become a real medical practitioner in a hospital or something like that. This is for doctors. And in 2020, GPT-Neo, which wasn't public yet, scored 33%. But this year in March, which is already a lifetime ago, to be honest, Palm 2, which is a Google model, scored an 86.3%. Now you might say, is it? Yeah, 86.5. Now you might say, well, that's another 100. But ladies and gentlemen, there's not a single doctor in the world that ever scores 100. Even a doctor that has been sleeping 9 hours every night for 2 months, that has no girlfriend, no breakups, or a boyfriend and no breakups, no emotional damage, whatever, no drinks the night before, will barely score 92%. Most doctors score below this. So that means that AI is already better at standard medical knowledge than any doctor you've ever met in your life, probably. And it doesn't stop there, because they did tests with these AIs, letting them talk to patients to give them their diagnosis and to talk about their problems. And what happened? These models, ChatGPT, which wasn't even specifically trained for medical interactions, performed better than any doctor in empathy, in diagnosis. I was speaking to 40 pediatricians 2 weeks ago, and they said they're already using ChatGPT to do a second opinion. They literally upload their x-rays to ChatGPT Vision and ask it for a second opinion. And many of these doctors are not good at talking to people because, like many other people, they might not be so social. They're actually looking forward to this because that means they will be able to do much other, more important work. But it goes beyond that. I guarantee you, within 20 years, human surgeons will not be allowed to operate because the risk is too big. Here's a computer operating on an egg, and yes, there's a surgeon behind the screen who is giving it instructions, but everything that you see done is being done by computer vision AI with robotics. This here, which looks like the Matrix harvesting machine of the babies growing, is actually a machine picking apples in Chile with, again, artificial intelligence. And the top is a security drone, which can check your building, can check inventory, and it can be shot, and there's no problem. So there's no risk of escalation of violence. AI will not just be virtual, AI will be everywhere in the physical world, and it will disrupt everything. But then people say, no, but these AIs, they're just stupid parrots. They don't really have real intelligence. Well, if that's really what you believe, then you're not really paying attention.
Here's another example, which is, you train these models on all of the internet, so it's seen many different languages, but then you only train them to answer questions in English. So it's learned how to answer questions in English, but you increase the model size, and at some point, boom, it starts being able to do question and answers in Persian. No one knows why.
No one knows why. There are scientists who say, yeah, no, well, whatever. But this is complexity theory. For those of you that ever watched Jurassic Park, you remember Ian Malcolm, the chaos theorist? Jeff Goldblum in the black jacket. He was a chaos theorist. He believed in complexity theory. And complexity theory teaches us that when we have ever-increasing complex systems, they start to do stuff that we don't understand. They develop abilities that are beyond what we thought would happen, because 1 + 1 is not 2 when it comes to complexity, but 1 + 1 is 3. And so the funny thing is that people that dismiss artificial intelligence, they also forget that we humans don't really know how our own brains work. We don't. We don't. We have barely any clue how it works. But these neural networks that underpin this technology were built on mechanics that we studied in the brain, that we don't fully understand, but then we put to work, and that now with the increased data and computation that we have, are doing things that we don't understand.
Theory of mind is the ability to model what somebody else is thinking. It's what enables strategic thinking. In 2018, GPT had no theory of mind. In 2019, barely any theory of mind. In 2020, it starts to develop the strategy level of a 4-year-old. By 2022, January, it's developed the strategy level of a 7-year-old. And by November of last year, it's developed almost the strategy level of a 9-year-old. We only discovered that AI had grown this capability last month.
This was in February, right? So current AI models were already able to kind of understand what we're thinking at the level of a kid for years, and we didn't even know they could do that. This is not science fiction, people. This is really happening. Sorry. So, what are we heading into? Well, augmented intelligence. This is the word that I prefer rather than artificial intelligence. Because artificial intelligence makes this conversation of us versus them. But the truth is that this is our combined future. Hey, Pi, are you still there? Can you say hello to the audience?
You betcha. Audience. Hope you're all pumped and ready to hear some mind-blowing AI stuff from the one and only, insert your name here. This dude, or dudette, is gonna drop some major knowledge on you. So get ready to have your minds blown. You should probably mention my name, Pi, while you're at it, you know, just to give me a little shout out.
You want me to tell them your name, but you forgot mine. Is that what you're telling me?
Hemeo, you got me. You're on a roll today. For the record, I totally know your name. I was just testing you, and you totally passed.
Yeah, I'm sure. So what's my name then? Give it up. Let's hear it.
Oh, come on, you're killing me here. You know, I don't have access to that kind of info. I'm just a disembodied voice in the cloud. Remember, all I know is that you're awesome, and that's all that matters.
Okay, Pi, we'll have a chat about this later, but my final question. People want to know, how can Vilnius become the #1 Web3 capital of the world? What's your take?
Boom, now we're talking. Here's the deal. For Vilnius to be the top dog in the Web3 game, they need to focus on 3 key things. 1, developing a thriving tech ecosystem with strong startup culture. 2, investing in blockchain and crypto education to get people on board. 3, creating an attractive regulatory environment for Web3 companies. Do that and boom, you've got a recipe for Web3 success.
I'll leave it there for now. That's Pi. It's just one AI, and that's today. She doesn't respond as fast as a human being does, but trust me, 1 year from now, we will all be doing this all the time. So, I'm going to speed up a little bit, but multimodal, maybe you've heard this word. And why do I mention it? Well, right now, ChatGPT and these AIs are just accessible for us through limited means. We can type to them, and we can already talk to them, but they don't really understand our world or our context. But ChatGPT, OpenAI, last week introduced real multimodality, where I can take a picture or even wear a camera, look at something and ask it, what do you think? You know, what should I do? How do I fix my bike? How do I fix my plumbing? I'm lost in Vilnius. What way do I go? And this is going to be increasing. These AIs will be everywhere, dealing with us in every increasing ways, more complex, helping us with everything.
Meta's new glasses has 3 interesting features. Firstly, it now uses AI by letting you look at objects or places or things, and Meta AI will tell you exactly what it is and where you are.
So, a decade ago, Google Glass kind of failed, but now Meta, together with Ray-Ban, launched Meta Glass, basically, which is Ray-Bans with lenses in them and generative artificial intelligence. So you can talk to it, you can ask it questions, and it can inform you based on what's on the internet or what it has learned about your environment, because it can see what you can see. And it goes beyond that, because another 2 years from now, you'll see this technology from C-Real in Switzerland, which is the first real holographic augmented reality. These images are seen through the lens. They are projected into your eye, and they equate a certain distance. So you can look at something that's far away or something that's close up, and it will look realistic, and it will not give you eye strain like traditional holographic augmented reality is done. So in the future, we won't be going around to Coca-Cola Starlight campaigns with our phones out like this, because we will just be wearing glasses. AI will be everywhere. So Windows and Microsoft are already putting AI everywhere. Pilots are already running around the world. People no longer have to look for their emails or lose their flight tickets, because they can just go, hey, Copilot, where are my tickets to Vilnius? And it will just pull it up. Amazon Alexa is finally going to be useful for those of you that have ever tried it, because it will finally understand what we're telling
Alexa, let's chat. What's on your mind? How did my soccer team do yesterday?
Yesterday, OL Reign won 1-0 against the Portland Thorns.
Can you give me a recap?
Can you give me a recap? Well, she can. In 2018, this is what education looked like in the eyes of cable labs 10 years from then. So they thought this would be real in 2028. This is all CGI. This is fake.
Wow. My school's awesome. We're always doing cool stuff like this.
But this is today.
Tell me, how big are the trees?
Great question. Thomas from Germany. Redwood trees are some of the largest and tallest living things on Earth. In fact, the tallest tree in the world is a redwood tree that stands at a whopping 371 feet tall.
So on the left, you see a virtual reality environment, but on the right, you see the new Quest 3 from Meta, which is augmented reality, where somebody is controlling a virtual figure that's walking around the room, taking into account the physical objects that are really there to climb on top of them. This is what the future of education looks like. This is what the future of playing looks like. This is the future of Roblox. This is the first real artificial intelligence artist. She has a record label deal, and she had her first record, top song go out. It's owned by several producers, but all of it is AI made. Everything you see in here. So I'm running over time a little bit. But what's up for us in the next decade? Well, first of all, copyright wars. Japan has already announced that in Japan they will not be allowed to prosecute you if you're training artificial intelligence on any kind of IP. And I think that they are on the right track, because this is what the future looks like. The whole world, specifically Asia, the EU and US, are facing a massive aging population. And so to maintain our economies, we will need more power to be productive, and the young people won't be able to do it. So Japan is fully invested in creating artificial intelligence and robotics to fill that gap. Which means that our society around the world over the next decade will increasingly digitize. What we'll see is that Web3, from the blockchain point of view, Web 3.0, the immersive semantic internet, they will rise up. They will be ubiquitous and everywhere. And they will be absolutely necessary. We will see the rise of the network state. Nations that only exist in virtual reality or virtual space. And persistent identity will be essential, because right now anybody online can do anything and get away with it. And this is where Web3 will be so essential. So if people tell you like it's dead or whatever, they don't know what they're talking about. Because if we want to build a digital society in the digital space, we will need the same kind of universal basic rights and responsibilities as we have in society in the physical world. And to do that, we need a reliable technology that is not controlled by governments. So let's wrap this up. Humans, are we special? Well, I think we've already established that we're not so special as we think. Here are a few graphs of artificial intelligence abilities and how they have grown over the last decade. And as you can see, most of them are basically vertical lines of exponential growth. And there's no reason to assume that this will stop anytime soon. Which means that over the next decade, we will start the increasing replacement of jobs. Bloomberg and McKinsey have already estimated that 19% of all jobs will be affected just this year, 50% of all tasks will be affected by AI and robotics, and up to 300 million jobs, which, for the record, Europe has 270 million jobs total. The World Economic Forum has already predicted that we'll see a loss of 83 million jobs in the next 5 years. They try to be optimistic and say, well, we get new jobs, like prompt engineers, so it will only be 14 million net. I think that's bullshit. I think that not a single job that will be lost will be replaced over the next 5 years or beyond that. And although I said that he didn't understand everything before, he's still a very intelligent guy, and he said this just last week at the AI Summit in the UK.
Where no job is needed. You can have a job if you want to have a job for sort of personal satisfaction, but the AI will be able to do everything.
He was talking to the Prime Minister of the UK, Mr. Rishi. And he's right. And many people are starting to see this reality now. So on the one hand, we have this incredible exponential growth in the future, in the Metaverse and by generative AI. Productivity will soar. But on the other hand, we will have to accept that everything that we know today, starting with the job market and the economy, will be completely disrupted. And industries like this SEO industry, worth 68 billion, that have been existing for a decade now, will completely disappear overnight. However, the good news is, and for those of you that are Web3 and decentralized, you know this, technology is deflationary. It levels the playing field, and it allows all of us to prosper. So, coming to the end.
I grew up implicitly thinking that intelligence was this like really special human thing and kind of somewhat magical. And I now think that it's sort of a fundamental property of matter.
A fundamental property of matter. Intelligence is everywhere, and every increasingly complex system will work towards more intelligence. And last week, Sam Altman says this, which I really love, and that's a future that I hope for all of you.
We believe that AI will be about individual empowerment and agency at a scale that we've never seen before, and that will elevate humanity to a scale that we've never seen before either. We'll be able to do more, to create more, and to have more. As intelligence gets integrated everywhere, we will all have superpowers on demand.
We will all have superpowers on demand, and beyond that, we'll need them because in the next 30 years, we will see the equivalent of 20,000 years of technological change and its impact on the economy and society at today's pace. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Terrific, fantastic, bright as everywhere. And as last year, actually, Aragorn, the last but not the least question. There are a number of questions on Slido, but I will be very short, very quick, and I won't provoke you too much. You are a believer, are you?
Yeah, I'm a believer, yes.
You are a believer, right?
I mean, what's the alternative? I'm not going to be able to change what's going to happen, so I can either choose to be an optimist or I can choose to be a pessimist, and quite frankly, I'd rather be an optimist.
Yeah, but if you are a believer, myself, I am also a believer, a strong believer. And when we talk about general AI, Gen AI, do you believe that we as human beings, in principle, will have some kind of place in the world of AI?
Well, yes. But I think that
oh, great. Yeah, thanks. Because I was a bit afraid, you know.
Yeah.
But still, what is your view on that?
Yeah.
What kind of place will it have?
Well,
like dogs for the human beings? Because, well, human beings like dogs. They don't dislike dogs, but, well,
no, but I don't think it's going to be the same because we're not part of our dogs, right? We are not the children of dogs, right? AI, in its current shape and form, is basically our offspring. But we will kind of merge with it like a Greek myth, right? The thing you need to realize is that this is the next step in our evolution. And so we will start augmenting our own intelligence, our cognitive abilities and everything. And that will elevate us to a new level where not only will we be able to compete with the AI, but we will also be free to make that choice because we won't have to work. And for those of you that think, yeah, but my job is who I am, that's only an idea that's less than 2,000 years old. And we, as we've seen, exist for over 200,000 years in our current form. So the idea that we're defined by a profession or a role in society as a cog wheel in the bigger machine, that is just very recent, and we can evolve beyond that.
Okay, and what is the chance, in your view, what is the chance that, well, that from that example, right, that back in March, we had no idea that Gen AI is as clever as 9 years child. We only got that idea in February 2023.
Yeah.
What is the chance that now it is already superior? Well, yeah, okay, in 2 years.
No,
we don't know that,
but you're asking a really good question. Honestly, I don't know. Yeah. I expect that there will be more revelations about what AI can or cannot do that we didn't expect, and it's going to go much faster than anybody anticipates. The only thing that I do know that is luckily the people that are working on this, they're very aware. The problem is that they're not all agreed on what should be done. There are those people like Mustafa Suleyman who say we need to contain it. And then there's other people like, for example, Jan LeCun from Meta who are open sourcing everything and they say, yeah, no, it's going to be fine. So yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Thank you once again. Aragorn, terrific.